Recently, I wrote an article for Essential Kids about friendships. Sometimes they're very fragile, sometimes they're incredibly fickle, and sometimes they're really yucky. And being able to help our children to develop the capacity to develop authentic friendships is incredibly important for children from all the way through, right through to adolescence. So I want to touch a little bit about when we're little. Around 3 is actually where the child experts believe we've really started to be capable of forming those social friendships, even though Steve Biddulph says he believes the second 6 months of life is actually where we start to develop the capacity to be a social being. So those interactions with real people and real pets and lots of other children as early as possible will help our children to develop friendships. Being available to create opportunities where children come together. And this is why I'm such a huge advocate for simple play groups that are about cake and coffee for the mums, for a small group of children who meet most weeks to get to know each other. They can be all sorts of ages. And once again, I keep on stressing that sometimes our children who are older or younger are just as important at teaching our children how to get on with each other. It's not just mum and dad's job, it's older. You know, sometimes those older children, they watch how they interact and they copy that. And I like it when I see older children helping little children do tasks, because we're building a social network and a perception of how we are as humans. So being able to create regular gatherings, whether it's not playgroup, maybe it might be an after school thing sometimes, that a bunch of mums who get on really well just might meet in the park sometimes just for afternoon tea and just let the kids run the gunk out of their motors. Let them all play together while the mums sit on a blanket and have a cup of tea or whatever feels appropriate. Those things might not look as though a lot's happening. And I'm going to say those environments that are familiar with the familiar kids are building profoundly important connections within them about how do I get on with other people. And that's where we can often help each other. If we've got a really strong rooster child who's a bit pushy and demanding, you know, that collective can help us with suggestions on how we can help that child be easier to get on with. So once again, it's creating the opportunities and the spaces, play dates, hang around once again if you can. And one of the things I'm getting a little bit worried about are schools that don't let children play before school anymore because, you know, we want them neatly in lines and into class. That worries me a little because I think that's a golden opportunity for children to see how other children play together. So some of those little simple things, create the opportunities, fill your house up with kids as often as you can, then kick them over to someone else's house later. But children only learn to play together by playing together. They will never ever learn it through their virtual world, and they'll never ever learn it unless they have that opportunity. And sometimes it's easier and they're not with their siblings all the time. They need to play with other children. So creating opportunities is really important, and hopefully we just create the opportunities. I prefer outside because your house stays a little bit tidier. But knowing that these are fundamental little things that happen early where we learn to get on with other kids, so that I can learn to be really like other kids, and therefore I'm developing that bond between two hearts. I hope that's given you a few other clues on developing friendships with children, because we know the kids who have friends transition into school and high school way better than the kids who don't have any friends. And that'll be all from my Maggie Moment today.